Hi, my name is Stephanie Brinkley, and this is your Piece of Peace. So, this week and for today, I really want to talk to you about the next generation. I want to talk to you about our children, and for those of you who don't have biological children, um, think about every child that is placed in your life for a moment, a season, or a lifetime. I want everybody to understand one of the most valuable gifts that we can give them is to be an example. I know, easier said than done. Me personally, I'm on a health journey, and I started it because I thought about my daughter specifically, and I want her to have a healthy relationship with food. And I realized that in order for her to ease the transition into being a healthy individual, it starts with her habits now, and not only the habits that she does, but the habits that she sees me do. If I don't have a healthy relationship with food, how is she supposed to mimic the opposite of what she's seen? So being a good example is just really the best thing that we can give our kids. It's so easy to dictate and to tell them you should be doing this, and this is how you should think and behave, but you have to do a lot less preaching, a lot less teaching if you are just being what they should be. So and getting into teaching and the directing, that brings me to this guy, right? Go with me on this. He was on a trip with his son, and his son was just not behaving, right? He was just, maybe let's just say he was having a bad day. I don't know. But he was being a knucklehead. And so the father told him, no son of mine acts this way. In other words, boy, have you lost your mind? So the father, told him what his standards were and implored the son, this is how you need to behave. And so the son really internalized what the dad said, and I guess he made up in his mind, I'm gonna really please my father. So the next day, the son did a whole 180, and he acted so well for the whole day that his son, the father, didn't have to correct him one time. And so the whole day go by, the son is probably like, man, I did it. And he tucked him in, they said the prayers, and then as he leaving, his bottom lips start shaking, right? And the dad, looked like, oh my goodness, what's wrong? What happened? And he said, Daddy, didn't I please you today? And when I tell you, those words just cut through the father's heart, like almost like a knife through like parental arrogance, so to speak. I, meaning him and all of us, so quick to criticize, so quick to correct. Got the words flow when it comes for that. But when somebody is doing right, you have nothing to say. You have nothing to give. And so he said that it taught him that he never wants his children to go to bed without an encouraging word. But to me, I just feel like that is life, right? That is an everyday ritual that we need to start doing. I gotta blow your minds with these statistics, right? Statistics show that parents make 10 negative statements for their children for every one positive one. No, my video ain't acting up. I'm just letting you feel the weight of that statement. 10 negative to 1 positive. And then just to really just pile it on you. Further research dictates that it takes 4 positive statements to overcome 1 negative. Somebody on here doing the comment, I need you to do some math, because this is a serious situation. We make 10 negative for the 1 positive, but we need 4 times as positive to cover up those 10 negative. So if you're doing only 10 negative statements a day, you need 40 positive to just even them out. That's not even to just make them be a better individual. So, and I know it's so cliche now to say, life and death is in the tongue, but I mean, literally think about what you're saying, what the Bible says. Life and death is in your tongue. Proverbs 3:13, it says, he that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, but he that openeth his wide lips shall have destruction. Proverbs is hilarious. In other words, if you want life and if you want to give life, it comes from out of your mouth. So I've been really taking some necessary precautions and some new strategic ways to parent my children. And I'm really seeing the payoff with them. I am always complimenting. I'm always going above and beyond to illustrate what it is that you're doing that's great. Have you ever think about it like you putting a magnifying glass to what you like. And a lot of times we don't realize that we end up actually doing that to the bad. For example, it's so easy, when one of my kids do something bad. Why would you do that? That's so good. And it's so easy. But when he put the dish in the sink without me asking, I don't have anything to say. I'm still working. Okay, that's terrible. Amplify what you want. Really magnify the good. And this doesn't just go for our children, but this is especially in marriage. If your husband, whatever little bit or a lot of bit good that he's doing, focus on that. Breathe life into that, and that'll filter into the other areas of his life. But if you continue for your children, for your mate, for your friends, if you are continuing to talk about and magnify the things that you don't like and that are bad and that need to change, that's what's going to continue to get the attention and continue to grow. Okay? So think of a critical spirit is like poison ivy. It only takes very, very little to spread. And I hate that because that just shows you how wicked, the world is. But the bad just runs. You could tell somebody, oh, this is good. Like a woman, you tell, oh, this is the best macaroni and cheese I ever had. You can go on and on for 3 hours. I've never had macaroni. And he say, man, I just wish I had a little bit left. That's all she gonna hear. And that's not good. But we got to understand our minds and the way we work. And we got to do everything we can to counteract that and to build our children up. And so, the last thing that I really want to leave you with is about this story. And go with me on this one. It was a king. And really wise, noble king said, I want to celebrate everybody in the land. I want to get all of the most noble people in my land. And I want to choose, the best one to celebrate, to just really show people how we should strive to be and to just really give credit where credit is due. And so the, kingsmen went out and they found a man who was very wealthy financially and with his property, and that's something to, be proud of. They got another person who was known for her healing hands and the things she was able to accomplish. They had another businessman who was very integral and he was very honest, and that's how he got invited to the party. There was another woman who practiced law and she was just extremely fair, and she was brought to the party. Then it was a soldier, and he was known for his bravery, and he was asked to come as well. So, you got all these amazing people with all these extremely awesome characteristics, and the king is like, oh, this is gonna be hard. And so the last person they brought in was this older woman. She didn't look all as prim and polished as the other ones, and so that got the king attention, like, oh, okay, who is she? What has she accomplished? What has she done? And the aide turned to the king, and I don't know why I feel like he was black, because it just felt like a mic drop moment to me. But he was like, yes, king, we've introduced you to all of the, highest contestants, candidates, but we wanted to bring to you their teacher. I need something to drop. Can't drop my nail polish. And then literally everybody in the room stood up and applauded this woman. She definitely deserved more credit than all, because look what this one woman, this one teacher, was able to produce in all of these people. That's why I don't understand what people don't understand when they say one person can make a difference. Literally, one person can breed a society full of good people. especially for all of us who are teachers and ministers and parents. And if you have access to any body in the world, unless you live in a tomb, you can make this world a better place by being an example, by watching what you say, and teaching when you have the opportunity to. A lot of times we think virtues like honesty and integrity and fairness and compassion, we think those are just found through life. And that's just not true. That's not a natural part of life. You might have one or two that you're born with that are easier for you to flow in, but all those virtues have to be taught. And that's what I want your piece of peace to be for this week, to really think about, the next generation and what are you leaving behind? What are you teaching? A lot of times, people don't know this about me, but I have this really big thing where I like to parent backwards, and I kind of actually like to live backwards, especially when I go to a funeral. And when I sit at funerals, a lot of us, I'm sure we think this way. Wow, I wonder what people gonna say about me. And me and my husband were just talking about this not too long ago. He's like, man, I would love to be at my funeral. And I was like, no, not really. But one thing that I do take seriously is, well, what do I want people to say about me? And so that in turn means that I have to be that person now. You don't get a chance right before you die. Oh, shoot. So I want everybody to say I'm honest. I want everybody to say it don't work like that. You have to be that throughout for somebody to come back and say that about you. And that is what I mean by parent backwards. I've been watching a lot of interviews about, from famous people and just being in everyday life. And I love when people talk about their parents. And I take this part really heavily because I love to hear what they really remember about their parents and what stuck with them. One lady was talking about how her father just introduced her to every type of music, and she went to plays, and she's just really well diverse in culture because of him. And then another one was talking about how her parent always just sat and did their homework and really just made them realize how important education was. And I love even something as trivial as my husband, who's like 30 something now, will talk about, how good his mom smelled when she tucked him in at night. And I'm like, man, I don't know why that was just so huge to me. Like, wow, I would love for my son and daughter to be married with their spouse, with children, talking about, man, every time my mom took me in, she smells so good. Like, I want that to be a memory for them. So guess what? I gotta smell good now. I can't go to bed funky. Get in the shower so you can smell good. Put on that nice, it's not just for your kids. They remember so much. And I just want you to understand that, parenting backwards is so great and so necessary, because everything that you want your child to have is possible for them, especially if you take the time to teach it to them. If you want them to be honest, if you want them to be brave, if you want them to be secure, think about what you want the teachers to say. Think about what you want the community to say about them. Instill that in them now. Let them know that's who they are, and they'll walk in it. And that is your piece of peace. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget, like this video, subscribe now, and I'll meet you here again next week for another piece of peace.